Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona and welcome to the February 26th edition of Horses to Watch. On the show this week, we're going to take a look back at 3 races from last weekend where horses didn't have great trips. We'll begin with 2 from Gulfstream and wrap it up with 1 race from Oaklawn Park. Let's begin down in Florida though with those 2 Gulfstream Park races. They're both actually races with the same conditions, maiden races going a mile on the turf. We'll start with one from Saturday's card. It's the 7th race for the 3-year-old Colton Geldings going a mile. And I want to focus on a first-time starter, the number 9 pricing exercise. Let's break them from the gate, and you're going to see that this horse breaks with the field just a little bit awkwardly, and Irad Ortiz is on him. He's going to have to steady just ever so slightly coming out of the gate, but given the fact that he's drawn in an outside post position, it's no surprise he's going to take this horse to the back of the pack and try to get him to settle. The problem, though, with this strategy, though, is that there is not a whole lot of pace going on at the front end of this race, and the eventual winner is going to be that leader, number 7 on Concord Lee. He's just going to take this field from gate to wire and really widen in the stretch of this race. So the horses trying to close from the back of the pack were really compromised here. Now, pricing exercise has left the screen by this point, but you're going to see him poke his head on the right side there. And he's just going to make this premature backstretch move because the leader starts to slow down the pace a little bit. And this first-time starter just heads onto the straightaway, sees some daylight, and tries to run there. Arad Ortiz is not really pushing him, as you can see, but he's also letting him do it to try to get up closer to this pretty moderate pace. And he ends up going from second to last, about 8 to 10 lengths off the lead, up to within a length and a half of the leader by the time that they're heading into the far turn. And you're going to see as they proceed into that second turn, he's going to continue racing 4 wide and advance up to challenge for the lead all the way around that far turn. It's just really difficult for a first-time starter to make this kind of intra-race move and have anything left for the finish of this race. Even though he's traveling well at this point, and Irad's not asking him, it's not a big surprise that once they get to the quarter pole of this race, Irad's going to shake the reins at him, and unfortunately, there's just nothing left here. He's just coming up empty because the horses that were on the lead, they conserved all that energy, setting a pretty moderate pace. And like I said, the number 7 is just going to run away from this field. You see this first-time starter, he gets a little interfered with here as the number 2 drifts out, the 8 comes in, just gets slightly steady there, and Irad is going to hit him once and just wrap up on him. He's going to fade to the back of the pack at the end of this race. His finish here and his eventual speed figure, not that impressive, but this is a horse that did a lot of running within the race, and I think he'll do a lot better with this start under his belt. Chad Brown typically does have these horses cranked up to win their debuts, but this one just got the wrong trip, and I imagine he'll be much more professional wherever he shows up next time out. Let's move on to Sunday at Gulfstream Park, and we saw another one of these 1-mile maiden special weight races going on the turf course. This one that was for the 3-year-old fillies. It's the first race on that Sunday card, and I want to focus on 2 horses in this race, the number 6 Dora Queer and the number 11 Cat Lady. Let's start from the break from the gate, and you're going to see both of these horses encounter a lot of trouble just as they head into the clubhouse turn. The number 6, Dora Queer, breaks fine, and Cat Lady is drawn on the outside post, but she's rushing up. As they head into the turn, though, watch that horse in the green and white silks towards the inside. She's going to get very rank, throwing her head about, and they're going to all drift out, and these 2 horses, the number 6 and 11, are just going to get spun out into the center of the turf course as they break for that turn. And now Cat Lady, the 11, is going to try to get back in under Irad Ortiz, and she cuts off the number 6, Dora Queer. So just a really nightmare of a trip for the number 6 there. And Cat Lady, she got spun out into the turn too, so she did not have an ideal journey in that clubhouse turn either. From this point, these 2 get decent enough trips, but it's a situation where, again, this is a race at Gulfstream Park that was dominated towards the front end. The top 2 finishers are going to be the number 5, Lababia, and the number 12, Duchess of Sussex. They just dominate this race on the front end. It's difficult to close, and I think both of these horses, given that they encountered some adversity, the number 11, Cat Lady, and the number 6, Dora Queer, they just never really had a chance to win this race. To the credit of Cat Lady, she's going to make a sustained run here as they round the far turn, and she's the only horse that really makes up any ground at the end of this race. She's being sent up under Irad Ortiz to race 3 wide now as they go around this far turn. She lost all this ground going from this outside post position. The number 6 there, Dora Queer, she's not able to recover from that trouble, and she's going to drop back through the pack. I would just draw a line through this race for her because of that nightmare scenario on the clubhouse turn. But Cat Lady really did show ability here. She's going to be finishing off this race pretty well. She never gets to these top 2 finishers. She's not able to pass them. She finishes 3rd in this race, but she puts a lot of distance between herself and the rest of this field in what is a pretty good effort here. She's a horse who in her first start, she was in a pretty tough maiden special weight race, and she finished third that day. I misspoke a little bit. She actually closes for second in this race. Dora Queer is a horse who, while she didn't run well in this race, given that early trouble, she had shown some ability in a maiden race at the end of December. She was third that day behind She's My Type, a Christophe Clement horse who came back and won a stakes next time out. So she does have a lot more ability than she showed this day. And while I don't love the quality of this race overall, I think both of these horses ran a lot better than it seems, and I think they each can do better when they show up in a similar spot next time out. For the final race we'll look at from last weekend, let's move down to Oaklawn Park, where they ran a nominators of one allowance race on Sunday's card. This one's for the 3-year-olds, going 6 furlongs. A pretty strong affair. A lot of horses that might have stakes potential in this race. I want to focus on a horse that finished toward the middle of the pack, though. That's the number 3, Twilight Fantasy, and we can break this one from the gate. Twilight Fantasy is going to get off okay in this race, breaks with the field, just not the quickest horse into stride. He's not a speed type, so his rider, Joe Talamo, is going to try to get him to settle towards the front, but in mid-pack. You're going to see, though, as they move down the backstretch, the favorite in this race is the number 4, Echo Town. And Ricardo Santana, his rider, is trying to get him forward position. But you see that horse in the yellow and green silks rushing up between horses. He's going to move over towards the inside. And Echo Town steadies back, and it just causes this chain reaction that necessitates the number 3, Twilight Fantasy, to steady all the way to the back of the pack. Joe Talamo had that mid-pack position, but because those horses in front of him were backing up, he now winds up all the way in last place as they're rounding the far turn. This is a race that was mostly dominated towards the front end. Tuggle, the number 6, is just barely going to lose this race after leading most of the way. He's going to get run down by the number 9, Lycan. And the number 4, that aforementioned favorite, Echo Town, does run deceptively well in this race. But I want to focus on this number 3 horse, Twilight Fantasy, as they come through the stretch, because Joe Talamo is trying to find a clear path for this horse. And you see right here, he's picking up the pace, and he does have some run. He's going to get fouled multiple times here. A horse comes in on him there. He tries to alter course again, and he's closing on the outside. He's almost getting to the 4th place finisher here. He's just going to barely not pass this horse as they get to the wire. But again, there's not a whole lot of running going on from the back of the pack in this race. I think he finished up pretty well to be nearly 4th here. The top 3 finishers, they all have ability. Tuggle's a Jeremiah Engelhardt horse who showed ability in New York last year. Echo Town was a very impressive debut and were at the fairgrounds last time. I think he got a 92 buyer that day. Even though he finished 3rd here, he's a horse that I think will progress on to stakes company next time out. And it's really no disgrace that Twilight Fantasy lost to those horses by only 4 or 5 lengths. I would anticipate he'll show up in a similar spot next time, and with a better trip up closer to the pace, I think he'll be much more effective. So hopefully if all of these horses get more fair trips next time, we can make a score with one or all of them. So thanks for listening this week, and I'll be back again next week to discuss 3 more horses to watch.